just won 20 million, and your parents ask you for half, what would you say? Story 1. My parents would never ask. I'd be happy to give them money though. Not half, just because the reality of managing a windfall is that it goes faster than you think, and my goal would be to set it up so that it compounds on itself over time, not just be a dwindling stack of cash that steadily disappears over time, but I'd definitely make sure their house is paid off, cars paid off, bills taken care of, etc. Dealing with people who want money would be the worst part of winning the lottery. Story 2. Oh, now that I have money, you finally decided to find me. Been looking for my parents for 36 years. Edit. I think I'll stick to the idea that my mom is a mermaid and my dad is Superman. They had to hide me because forbidden love. Story 3. No, go away. But it would be from a place of love. 5 million would destroy my dad because he would use it to drink himself into even more of a stupor than he already is, and mom would run around talking about it to all her friends and end up scammed out of all of it and more. I have spent my whole life watching them both, every dollar up against the wall. If I came into a big sum of money, I would need to maintain control for their own good. Story 4. I would laugh so hard. My dad was an abusive and my mom was an abusive narcissist. I wouldn't give them a penny even if I had $1 trillion. I'd be the most generous, philanthropic person in existence to everyone but them. Story 5. Of course, my parents have done so much for me and have never asked me for anything in return. I also know they'd never ask, but I'd give it to them anyway. Story 6. My parents would never even know I'd won that much money, because they'd both beg for it, I am sure, and I sure as ain't giving them half. Look, when my grandmother died, myself and my siblings had an inheritance of 5,000 each that I never learned about until I was an adult. My parents spent it, along with selling any items from the inheritance we got, because we were in a really shitty place due to their poor life decisions. I don't entirely blame them for doing it, but like, that was our money. My grandfather on a different side of the family literally just died a few weeks ago. The same thing is about to happen again with all the still minor siblings. I'm willing to bet you money my mother won't even help them buy a car or anything like that. Point is, I know my parents could have weighed 10 million so fast. Further, they me over pretty hard during my childhood, even beyond the inheritance. They ain't getting a penny from me. I'd put half of the money away for my siblings in whatever the best stocks, interest-bearing trust fund, etc., a financial advisor can get me, and my minor siblings will have access to that money through me anytime they need it as minors. And when they're adults, their trust fund stock, whatever will be signed over to them in the way that won't over on taxes. Story 7. Wow, it's kind of a slap in the face to learn this many people love their parents. I'd say nothing to them. I'd set up an account for my sisters and grab my girl and get the away from here. Story 8. Yeah, nah, this is going towards fixing how badly y'all messed me up, or just uncontrollable laughter. Like really, wanting 10 mil after everything they put me through and what my dad said to me. Nah, that money is going towards therapy, medication, and moving far away. Story 9. I love you both, and this is the least I can give you to thank you for raising me. I wasn't the easiest, but I turned out alright. They are happily retired, but this would set them up for the rest of their lives. Story 10. Yeah, they have done a lot for me and they deserve it. I'd say, Mom, let me pay off your mortgage and set you up with an annuity for the rest of your life so you don't have to worry so much. Story 11. No, then I'd move and they'd never see me again. They were shitty parents. Dad tried to kill me when I was 10, and Mom had a series of boyfriends after that which were abusive, and she turned a blind eye. My mom, yes. My dad, no. My mom helped me get sober after a bad early 20s, and she attempted more than one. I relapsed twice and am now 4 years sober, coming up on 5. I thank her endlessly. Story 12. I'd give them all 20 if they asked, but only because I know they wouldn't ask. My in-laws, on the other hand, I'd yell, that's my purse, I don't know you. No is an answer. People saying they'd give their parents anything they needed. Well, no, but they sure don't need 10 million. If your parents would actually ask for half of your winnings, then they don't deserve it. A deserving parent would be happy for their children and wouldn't have to ask. Story 13. No, I'd pay their mortgage. I'd pay every bill for the rest of their lives. I'd make sure my siblings were taken care of too. I'd fund my parents' ability to travel whatever they want. But I'd do all of that directly. I wouldn't want any of that money going towards their politics or the church. Story 14. Absolutely. I could die the next day. My parents mean everything to me. They spent a lot of time and money on raising me and loving me. Money means nothing compared to my mom and dad. Heck, I'd give it all to them and be fine with a weekly allowance. LMAO, I'm grateful for good parents. Story 15. I can tell I'm privileged because the answer would be of course. My parents did everything they could even if they didn't know how to deal with me. They still do, so, finally being in a secure position, I'd definitely give them half. Story 16. My dad is dead, and my 84-year-old mom is well enough off to not need it. In the off chance she did ask, I would absolutely give her half, no questions asked. She has been so helpful for so long in so many ways that I can't begin to repay her. Story 17. I'm from Norway. The state funds most schooling, healthcare, and even subsides you when moving out from home, so you are not indebted to your parents nearly as much when you become autonomous as in other countries. Had my parents declared their income to me, and gave me half when I grew up, then sure I'd give them half of this. Fortunately we are not that uncivilized. They'd get $1 million each or something like that for sure though. Story 18. Well, my biological mom is dead, but I'd give it to her. I'd happily give half to my adoptive parents. They're awesome. I will burn half of the money in front of my biological father just so he couldn't get anything, and I'd laugh in his face. Story 19, I'd give the whole 20 million if I could just have another day with my dad. Here you go, my parents were the best. I'd have non problem, giving them half. Story 20, I never had a good relationship with my parents since they were very absent and neglectful when I was a child. However, I would say yes, 20 million is a lot. 1 million would be more than enough for me, let alone 10 million. Even though they acted the way they did and gave me trauma, I find myself somehow able to forgive them. Story 21, my parents were so good to me, and I never realized fully until I grew up, got married, and bought my own place that I realized what kind of asses are out there. Sure, I was that troubled teen who loathed doing chores and getting out of the house to get a job, but they taught me critical life skills. I didn't fully grasp this until my wife's parents, who basically abandoned her youngest siblings, whom we've had guardianship of for years, were in our care. Fast forward to now, the parents have been through jail and are dealing with drug court and the likes, and it's all on my dime as they are living in my house as well. Long story short, if my parents wanted the money, they don't need it. Their retirement is something I personally long for. I would give it. Personally, I wouldn't know how to spend 10 mil USD anyways. Story 22, the comments here are polar opposites. My mom died of cancer that appeared right on her 60th birthday. 2 days before she retired from her job. She died 8 months later. If I had money somewhere before that and the knowledge, I would put every penny on trying to save her. There's not enough money in the world to replace my mom. My father decided long time ago that we aren't his family anymore, so I don't care anymore about him even if I do miss him. Story 23, yup. No questions asked. I can't imagine them ever asking though. I honestly think even if it were life or death they'd be hesitant to ask for that much. Story 24, here you go. I wouldn't be the man I am today without my family. All my aunts were like surrogate mothers and helped raise me. My mom sacrificed so much for me, I wouldn't hesitate. Story 25, I would play the same tune my dad used on me. Dad, can I have 50 for a video game? Dad, why does a video game cost 30? 20 bucks is a lot of money for someone your age. 10 will go a long way, so here, don't spend your 5 in one spot. Story 26, I pay off their debts and invest the rest of their half, then put the investments in a trust that pays out to them. They get the responsible benefits of having 10 million, and I keep my money. Story 27, my parents are dead. I would set up annuities for my 2 sons and my 4 grands, fund each with 1M, and they can each use the annual interest payments to spend or save as they wish. The grandchildren could start drawing at age 21, that leaves 4M. I'd pay all of my debts off and move to a less congested place and live out my last 20-ish years without financial worries. Story 28, without a doubt I'd give them half. They've sacrificed so much to make sure I had the best upbringing possible. They've sacrificed, honestly deserve all of it, TBH. Story 29, I'd never tell them. I'd help out for sure, but I'd never tell them how much I won. Just asking for problems getting family involved with a lottery winning. Story 30, def give 'em both some money, but less to my dad cause he finna gamble all that money away at the casino. My mom would use that money to start a business. Story 31, I'm fine with that provided some of it flowed through to my sister. I love my folks and they're not complete idiots with money. It would probably be invested in reasonable things. Story 32, yep, absolutely. I had great parents and they deserve to live a life of luxury in their old age. Now let me tell you what would really happen. My dad would take that half and give it to his other kids, then set up a trust for his severely autistic grandson to have help services he will need for the rest of his life. Story 33, absolutely. They can have more if they want. My mom manage money better than I do, and I know that she will end up put money in the bank and not use it. Story 34, NGL, I would definitely consider it. My parents have worked very hard all their lives. They deserve to have some good experiences and an easy time. 10 million is still a lot of money that would absolutely be enough for me to do the things I want to do. Story 35, no is a complete sentence. My mother has squandered 4 separate payouts totaling close to 500K in the last 20 years, and has absolutely nothing to show for it. Absolutely no way I'm going to give her money to feed the pokies. Story 36, y'all have already completely wasted a family fortune on stupid and unnecessary frivolous purchases. So no, it'll help support you some because you're my parents, and I care about you, but you're sure as not getting $10 million. My best friend, on the other hand, take it. Story 37, probably wouldn't ask, but I will pay off every single thing for them without them asking, and probably set them up for life. You only got one parents. Story 38, my mom can have it. We've been poor forever, and I used to go weeks without cigarettes when I smoked cause no money and needed essentials, and same with weed. Basically, half would still get me a good life of doing as I please. I'd have a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, 1,500 square foot max for a cabin and on around 100 acres. I'd wake and bake, then do my daily chores and workout, then delve into some either lore form around the world or maybe start watching a show or set of movies. More than likely, you'll be listening to podcasts, music, or audiobooks if it's not one of my many quiet days. My mom needs a bit more than I do, but not by much, since she taught me materialistic things aren't necessary besides clothes, and nowadays a cell phone and my inhaler and wallet and keys. She would just need a larger house for a higher kitchen and room for her husky, but he's also mine since he would be mostly with her like our last 2 doggies who passed a year ago. Story 39, yep, I'd give it to them, no worries. They can't travel anymore or anything, they're not going to blow it. A good portion of it would just come back to me one day anyway. I don't think they would ask though, or take it if I offered it to them. Story 40 I'm going to give a portion but it'll be set up in a trust with someone else managing the money being doled out to my father, but the man has strings attached to everything so I wouldn't just gift him money, there would be requirements for the money, and he can't just have at it. After all, I didn't get any money that wasn't calculated. Story 41 I'd give her half. Not only that but I'd pay off her house. Make sure she goes into a nice nursing home by the beach like she always wanted. She's only 42. Story 42 Ask them why they need money in the afterlife. If my mom were still here, I wouldn't hesitate to give her whatever she asked for. Knowing her, she'd ask for new tires for her old car. Story 43 Half of whatever is left over after taxes to cover my, absolutely, without hesitation, I would do my best to make sure mom and dad never went wanting again. Story 44 Keep in mind that half of that 20 mil is going to the IRS. Not sure I would give my parents half of the remainder, but I would have made sure they were taken care of, and keep in mind again, that if you gift that money it's taxed again, so giving your parents a lump sum would not be smart because it would be taxed at the highest rate. Story 45 Perhaps this is cheating, but they would never ask. They would know and trust that I would take care of their every need and comfort to the nth degree. They are far from perfect people, but their good hearts and kindness and devotion to their children and grandchildren would never be questioned by anybody, and I would repay that in every way I could. Story 46 My dad can go himself. My mom gets 5 mil, my brother gets 5 mil, and my sister gets a house, her debt's paid in 100k, she'd get the 5 mil if she'd have gone to my wedding when I literally made it as easy as possible for her to go, even offering to pay her hotel. Then I've got like 5 mil that's getting invested and saved, 5 mil for taxes and the O fund, then whatever's left after buying my sister a house to live on for a few years. Story 47 No, because I know my parents and they simply wouldn't do that. I don't know who is impersonating them to ask, but it's not my parents. Doesn't mean I wouldn't help my actual parents however they needed. Story 48 I would ask what they need money for in the afterlife. All seriousness aside, if they were still alive, I wouldn't hesitate to use as much of that money as needed to make them comfortable, and they would lack for nothing. Story 49 My mother, who has never once asked me for money in my life, the one who pushed me out of her vagina, the same one who raised me and put up with all of my bullshit, the one who bought me bowling shoes for Christmas. In a heartbeat, she would never ask, but I would still give her some anyways.